Gary Burnell Beikirch didn't realize what a dangerous world he'd been born into on August 29, 1947, particularly when, at just 18 months of age, he toddled up the stairs of the old Victorian duplex in Rochester, New York, spotted an open window, and leaned out against the screen. He and his parents lived upstairs, while his aunt and uncle lived downstairs. Mealtimes were often a shared experience, and on this evening, while the grown-ups were engrossed in conversation, Gary had toddled off. The child stood alone. The wind blew off the shore of nearby Lake Ontario, ruffling his hair. For a moment, the screen held fast while the toddler fingered the clasp that held the screen shut. Directly out the window, more than 20 feet below, lay the marble-hard surface of a black-topped driveway. Years later, Gary would wake in the middle of the night, breathless, shocked awake by repeated dreams of falling. In his dreams, he fell and fell but never hit the ground. Fears soaked into his dreams like sweat soaked into his sheets. He feared breaking his head open. He feared the look on his parents' faces, anxious, desperate, as they peered over him in a hospital bed where he lay in critical condition. The latch opened. Gary tumbled out the window. The toddler hit the pavement head first with a massive thud. He was rushed to the emergency room at Strong Memorial Hospital, where X-rays showed his skull plates cracked in multiple places. The doctors, after closing the gashes in his scalp with more than 100 stitches, weren't sure he would survive the night. A priest came to administer last rites. Gary hovered between life and death. Time slowed for Gary's parents, George and Norma, as they hoped and waited, wondering whether Gary would ever heal or be the same. An article in the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, May 5, 1949, moralized, "Like too many youngsters before him, little Gary's curiosity led him to the catch on the screen." The Beikirchs were a middle-class family. George built carburetors at Rochester Products, a division of General Motors, the plant where most of the town worked. After Gary's fall, George could barely concentrate on his job. On the side, he played AAA baseball with the Rochester Red Wings, and all the players came by the hospital to sign a baseball for the boy. Norma worked as a homemaker. She spent her days and nights at the hospital, watching over her struggling son. The parents had little to lean on, except the love and support of their extended family and friends. That, and they knew their son had the heart of a fighter. They'd even named him with a future battle in mind, choosing Gary, a Germanic name meaning spear, sometimes translated as loyal warrior. They knew their son would be tough. Another factor came into play during the crisis, although it remained hidden to the family until years later. Gary's mother and father were not churchgoers or part of any faith tradition. Yet every evening on the other side of Rochester, a 10-year-old girl knelt beside her bed and begged God to spare his life. Gary's cousin Janet had been told the toddler would most likely die, but with all the faith of a child, she vowed to pray for his recovery for however long it took. Gary's days in the hospital stretched into weeks. Surgery followed surgery. Stitches followed stitches. The doctors were concerned that even if Gary pulled through, he might experience long-term brain damage. Janet kept praying. The hospital stay grew expensive and strained the family. To help, Norma went to work on the same carburetor line as her husband. Tragically, her hand caught in a machine and was crushed. There were no disability payments then. Her hand never fully recovered, so when she could work again, she found another job at a clothing store to make ends meet. Slowly, steadily, against the odds, Gary fought his way back to full health. Doctors and therapists examined him and pronounced him cured. Gary's mental astuteness was deemed above average. His motor coordination was found to be excellent. The pediatricians didn't know exactly what had occurred, why the fractured pieces of Gary's skull had not pierced his brain or caused any lasting damage. They knew only that factors beyond the here and now had played in the boy's recovery. His parents chalked up this outcome to things that can't be fully explained.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.